it's Wendy from the Nomadic Vegan, and welcome to part 8 of my 11-part video series on my favorite vegan dishes from around the world. Today, we're talking about Middle Eastern cuisine, and this is a region whose cuisine is just full of vegan delights. I'm sure that you're already very familiar with some of them, like hummus and falafel, that have become staples for vegans and vegetarians all over the world, and of course other people enjoy them too. You might know some others like tabbouleh and baba ganoush. But today, I want to share with you a dish that I feel like doesn't get as much attention outside the Middle East as some of these other dishes, which is a shame because it is incredible. So if you haven't ever traveled in the Middle East before, then you might not have come across it. I first came across it on my trips with my husband. He wasn't my husband at the time then, but Nick and I, before we were married, back in 2003, we took a trip from Cairo in Egypt to Istanbul in Turkey. So it took us about 3 months. We went all the way through the entire region. And that was when we discovered this dish. We discovered it pretty early on in Cairo, I'm pretty sure, but definitely in Egypt. And then we continued to eat it lots and lots in Egypt and also in other parts of the region. Egypt is where this dish originated, and that's definitely where it's most famous. It's actually often called the national dish of Egypt, but you will find it in other parts of the region, and every place has its own kind of little spin on it. So we'll talk about maybe some other versions as well. But first of all, let's talk about the Egyptian version of ful medames. Or if you want, you can just call it ful for short, F-U-L. Really easy, ful. So what is ful? Well, it's a bean dish, and the beans that we are talking about here, well, it depends. Sometimes they use fava beans, but other times it's most usually a particular bean that I haven't really seen in any other part of the world. In Egypt, this bean is called ful hammam. So you might know what a hammam is. It's a bath, like a public bath complex where you can go and relax and have a bath and maybe have a massage. So there's an interesting story as to why these beans are called ful hammam. And that goes back to the Middle Ages, hundreds of years ago in Cairo. There was a public bath complex called the Princess Baths. And so all day you would have these fires that were raging to keep the pots of water hot. So you had these huge pots of bath water that were heating the water to put into the baths. And you would have a fire that was constantly going to keep these hot. Now, then in the evening, the baths would close, and the embers would still be hot. So there would still be some heat coming out of the place where this fire had been. Well, fire and fuel for fire was very scarce because there's not very much wood in Egypt. It's mostly desert, right? So there aren't very many trees that grow there. So the people who lived around this bath complex, they wanted to take advantage of this very scarce fire source and fuel source as much as they could. So after the baths closed, then they would take these huge pots that were used to heat the bath water, and they would fill them up with beans, all right? And so the beans would be left to simmer there in the baths all night, and then in the morning, they would be ready, and you would have this dish of ful medames that was ready for breakfast. And still to this day, breakfast is the most common time to eat this dish. Most people in Egypt will have ful medames for breakfast, but you can have it at any time of day, any time that you want to, and you will see people eating it for lunch and for dinner or just for a snack. It's often sold by street vendors on the street, but the most common way is to have it for breakfast. You can see this version here. This is as it's sold by a street vendor, so it comes with some bread and some pickled vegetables and a little bit of salad on the side as well, and that is a very typical Egyptian breakfast. So like I said, Egypt is where this dish originated, but you will find it throughout the Middle East in different variations. Each place has its own unique spin on full medames. So for example, this one is the fool that you will find in Syria in the city of Aleppo. And here it's covered with some olive oil and some tahini and also this peppery sauce. The red sauce that you see there is made with a particular type of pepper, which the city of Aleppo is famous for, the Aleppo pepper. So you can hardly see the beans at all because they're just kind of smothered by all this other stuff. So as you can see, yeah, lots of different ways that you can cook ful, but when it comes down to it, the heart of this dish is always the beans. Sometimes they'll be a little bit more mashed up, and sometimes they'll be kept more whole. And then you'll have, of course, cumin and other spices that are added to them, and some onions as well. And usually you'll use it as kind of a dip, so it'll always be served with bread, with pita bread. And you can use that to kind of scoop it up, and it may be just one of many dishes. That's usually how Nick and I would do it when we were traveling through the Middle East. We would get ful, and then we would get some hummus, and maybe some falafel, and some baba ganoush, and some bread, and we would just eat all of that stuff and mix it all up together, and it was absolutely delicious. And Nick and I were not vegan at that time. I don't think I even knew what the word vegan meant back then in 2003, but we completely fell in love with all of these dishes from the Middle East, which, looking back, we probably ate pretty much a vegan diet on that trip because this is the kind of stuff that we were eating the whole time. So that is full, and that means that we only have 3 dishes left in this series. I can't believe it's coming to an end. And you know what that also means? You only have 3 days left to grab your bonuses by pre-ordering your copy of Veggie Planet. So if you haven't heard, Veggie Planet is my new book. It's coming out on July 21st. That's the official release date, but you can pre-order it now. It's available for pre-order on Amazon. It's only $2.99. It's an extremely low price because I wanted to keep it as accessible as possible for everyone. And so in addition to getting the whole book for $2.99, you also get a whole package of bonuses that I'm offering just for people who pre-order before the 21st. And that includes recipes, that includes a bonus chapter on a whole nother cuisine that I don't even talk about at all in the book. It includes a sneak peek into my next book, which is Italy for Veggie Lovers. It's all about vegan food in Italy and traveling in Italy as a vegan. And you get a free ticket to the live online event with me, Q&A chat, where you can ask me anything you want about vegan travel and vegan living and vegan food all over the world. So I can't wait to see you at that. Please do grab your bonuses if you want them because you don't have much time. So if you're watching this before July 21st, then just go to Amazon.com, search for Veggie Planet, and you will find it there. Or you can check the link down below. I'll leave it at the bottom of the video as well. So, and also let me know, have you ever had full medames before? And if not, what are some of your favorite dishes from the Middle East? I would love to hear. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!